Mysteries, mindfuck, and magic. Welcome to the Otherworld. Welcome, Peter Jenx from Thailand. Thank you for taking your time to. We've only me today because Rudolf hasn't got the time. So yeah, we'll talk about the Thai occult.
And it's a pleasure to be here, Bernhard. You know, we've had a few conversations over the years.
Yeah. So there is so much to say about your work. Just as a first idea, you're a renowned author about the living system of Thai magic, and people can buy these stunning and very potent magical things from you. And as we said before we hit the record button, there is it's a living magic system. There is so much. You've got everything in there, from fortune telling to candle magic to lifting curses to astrology to alchemy. And
it continues to grow. This is
Yes.
the strange thing about it, really. You know, when we first discovered this, when we first started getting into it, no, we didn't discover it. There was people into Thai magic and has been for a millennia. Yeah. When we first started to understand it and were given the opportunities to walk through the door to see it and gain the trust of the magicians, since that point, it has been developing and opening for the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And every time we think that we understand something, something else opens.
Yeah.
Or something else occurs that comes to light. Like recently, we discovered that Thais have a way to praise the planets.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like, I mean, I know Solomon, I was watching a podcast on Solomonic magic, and they praise the planets. And this is completely different.
Yeah.
Totally different way of doing it, you know. And it's like, you know, it's never, I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of it, truly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's just endless.
As it should be. So before we start going down that rabbit hole, how did you end up there? You're British. How did you go to Thailand and write about all this stuff?
The first time I went was invited by friends in '91, which is a totally long time ago now. And I went for a month. I stayed for 4 months, came back, hit a few problems when I came back, and just thought, you know, I'm going back. Packed up my apartment, rented it out, and went back for a year and travelled through Thailand and Southeast Asia in 1992 for around a year, which is reasonably early, you know. And so we got basically the Thailand that I fell in love with. Very little of it still exists, except for the depths of the culture. You know, I went through Isan, which is the northeast of Thailand, when it was very poor. You know, in Bangkok, still had all its ghost shrines, and still had, you could walk into temples and buy pieces of skull as an amulet from monks, you know, which is not allowed anymore. You know, it was incredibly raw and animist, the closest I've ever been to the true feeling of animism, really. And I've been in love with the place since. And on that journey, I knew I would move here permanently, and I knew I would die here at some point. You know, it became a lifelong love, and we're still here, and I ain't dead yet. But this time, this podcast may sort that out.
So we are lucky to talk with you and to have a glimpse into that fascinating culture. I mean, you talked about animism. So officially, Thailand is Buddhist, but that's no contradiction to an unbroken animist tradition.
There's no contradiction in that, because Buddhism has always entered a country and layered over the top of what is there. it's always entered and allowed the original culture to still exist. It's not like Christianity.
Mm.
It came in and just kind of tried to get rid of everything. So everything that was here for thousands of years has developed as like a subculture, really, more than anything else. One of the many layers of the society, where basically people follow Buddhism for life and for the continuation of life and having a good life. But for the desires in life, they use magic.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, is too difficult to resist sometimes.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to summarize the basic idea of Thai magic.
I don't know whether it's possible, to be
Yeah,
honest with
yeah,
you, because
yeah.
I was dreading you asking that question, to be frank. I think you have to look at the history to understand the idea of it, and to look at the phases of how magic came to this region. There is the original magic, of which some candle magic still harks back to. And I've asked how they understand the age of it. And Ajarn would say it's the structure of the spell and the language used. They know it's pre-Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
So Buddhism came here about 1,800 years ago. So they're still using spells from pre-Buddhism. But that spell may have been influenced by the arrival of the Lersi, the Rusi. Now, we think generally the Rusi brought a refinement to the focus needed to create all magic and a way of blessing, because the pruksek, what the Thai word for a blessing, the pruksek probably harks back to the arrival of the Lersi, where they blow on the item, which is the same in a lot of ATRs, I think, isn't it, Bernhard?
Maybe, yeah. But before we do, what are the Lersi for our listeners?
It's the original Indian hermits and wanderers, and the Lersi instructed the Buddha in magic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the original. There was many Lersi for the different strains of magic, and a lot of the magic of Thailand harks back to a particular Lersi who acts as the source of that magic or an aid to certain forms of magic. So in each Ajarn's home or his home temple called a samnak, there will be masks of Lersi, and they're placed on the head or they are as a statue, and that is part of the ancestral lineage and the magical lineage, and they call on that power for advice and for their power to come forward. So, like, you have the tiger face Lersi, which is called upon for protection. You have the deer face Lersi, and these are the oldest ones, we think, according to Buddhist scriptures, which is for metta, because metta is loving kindness, and deer kind of show that loving kindness. The bull face Lersi is incredibly potent and is there for more kind of the force of magic itself is probably the best description. So they all have a role to play, and the Thai magicians are a conduit to that power and lineage.
Mm.
Now,
the Ajarn, sorry, just to interrupt you, the Ajarn you mentioned,
yes.
we have to assume that our listeners don't know the name. So Ajarn are the
Ajarn
practitioners, the magicians.
Is a lay magician.
Mm.
Monks are also magicians, many of them, especially in the past. Some of them were phenomenally potent magicians. But that's kind of, in the cities and places like that, it's being weeded out now due to having a very conservative government. I expect that will come back if the world has more problems on the way.
Mm.
Yeah, magic rises to deal with the situation within the culture. And in the same respect that we can't get the information unless we ask the correct question, because otherwise they don't know what to access within their knowledge. They can't just pull it out. They have to be asked to be able to react to it. So we think the Lersi brought some of the first ways to bless and ways of samadhi. Samadhi is the focus everybody needs for magic. In the West, in the East, we gain it through meditation. At that time when they arrived, tiger magic was present here, as was candle magic, as were Sak Yant, which is the original Thai magical tattoo. Because the Lersi influenced and used the Sak Yant and introduced their image into the Sak Yant, and they cannot have brought it because religious tattoos are banned in India. Yeah, so there had to be a tattoo system before they arrived.
Okay, yeah.
The next great wave came with Theravada Buddhism, which was the form of Buddhism that came here from Sri Lanka. That brought the script and Kata, chanting, and we don't know whether the Lersi brought some of the yantra, the square yants for magic and the round yants for magic, but we think that actually came with the script and with Theravada Buddhism. And that was bringing the sacred to join the profane. Yeah, ghost magic here is older than Buddhism and the Lersi. The creation of a spirit, something the Thais are renowned for, came through the influence of Buddhism, but may have existed before that. And I say it came through the influence of Buddhism because the 32 parts of the body meditation probably came with Buddhism. And that is a part of what they use to create a spirit within an amulet. So there's and add to that, each lineage of magicians are constantly exploring a better way to do things. And when magic traveled between the regions, it was adapted. And then if one region became good at it, everybody used that way. Yeah. So this has been a constant melting pot that continues to this day.
That's incredible. It has brought forth a syncretism of traditions and belief systems and working with different pantheons of spirits, if I may say so. And
it's really, you have to look at it regionally, because regionally you have very distinct forms of magic within Thailand, completely distinct. Yeah, in Isan, the northeast, they have extremely raw versions of working with ghosts, using physical human remains from certain sources. Usually it's from a person who dies before about the age of 35. And the more tragic the circumstances, the better, because that adds more power to their remains. Yeah. Like in the West, you have the influence of the Thai Yai, who are Burmese in origin or mixed with the Burmese Mon people, and they bring their skills for mercury. They have a particular skill for using mercury, and they bring their skills with mixing herbs for magical purposes. To the north, the Lanna land, where I live, they have particular skill for candle magic. The central region has a particular skill for ritual magic, because it's where they hold kind of the library of magic, and also you have the Brahmin priests within the royal courts. The south has a particular form of Muslim magic, which I'm probably not going to talk about because I don't want to upset our Islamic brothers and sisters. But they also have a regional magic in that area, mostly centered around Sak Yant in a particular Wat. But you also have an ancient form of magic down there that we're still trying to get to the bottom of. The start of the information for that is in the book that we're going to release at the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been opening new doors throughout the country. And unfortunately, every time we open the door, we've got to go back because then we find out more about it.
Yeah.
And when we deliver the books, when we have copies for the Ajarns and for the people, the monks who gave their time, we will do more interviews and carry on the process of understanding those regional differences. And that's not including what happens between the regions and how things work out in that respect. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah. Do you know anybody in Thailand who doesn't wear an amulet or
Many people.
Yeah?
Many people.
Okay.
It's they're weeding it out of the society,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think the magical system opened to me and Balm to be able to record this, because there's pressures from the more orthodox Buddhist people and things like that. They kind of want to forget about bodies and things like that, and using strong magic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to appear as superstitious because it's a developing country, but at the same time, this is part of their culture. So, like the first book, the big Thai Occult book, really is about the culture and the stories of the magic, which took 552 pages.
Mm.
It nearly killed me, that book, Bernhard.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved reading your book because it's such a it's like glimpsing into such an old culture and old tradition alive today. And as I told you, it made so much sense for me when I remembered the things my grandfather told me about the magic here in the Alps, where they did their folk magic. So the practices are similar to a degree, and I mean, it's invaluable what you're doing by recording it and bridging the regions with each other.
It's taken a long time to really get a hold of this. It's taken quite a lot of work to understand, or start an understanding of what this contains. But one of the great things that have come out of it is to be able to see the connections. And it's those connections that can help people out there understand magic as more of a whole, as in WHOLE rather than HOLE, more of a complete thing. And it's substantial, and it has form, and it has layers, and everything is connected. It has to be to be able to create magic in anywhere, through any system. It's just that we've forgotten the connections in many cases, or we don't trust our understanding of the connections, or we never realized it was connected in the first place. We just saw it as something you do, you know. And this is why I think there's only really the 80th. Haitian Vodou is pretty complete. A lot of the ATRs are complete, and Thai magic is complete. That's about all we know of at the moment. Tibetan magic should be complete, but depends on the access, really. But the complete systems next, in my opinion, need to aid the ones that are broken in some way, shape, or form, just to get the understanding in there.
Yeah.
But that in itself is a very difficult process for people. It's extremely difficult for them to accept the change of something that they may have dedicated their life to.
So within this complete system, you told about the different regions. Maybe tell us about some examples. What is typically like? How do the Ajarns communicate with ghosts, and why do they need body parts for creating these powerful amulets?
Well, regionally, the communication with ghosts differs. And also with every Ajarn, lay magician, it differs. It depends on their own connection and their own abilities. Let's give two examples. Ajarn Suea, who lives in Chiang Mai, he's been very open about how he works with ghosts, and he has a graveyard that he uses, that he's allowed to use as well, because he's like a local treasurer. And he will generally use 2 or 3 ghosts within that graveyard that he likes, and he knows are good people who have just been put into a terrible circumstance through dying in an accident too soon. And they'll be stuck there for 20 or 30 years. Because the belief is, if you die at, say, 25 in an accident, but your natural lifespan would have been 80, you're going to have to spend 55 years in this realm or the realms below before you're allowed to reincarnate.
Okay.
Yeah, you can raise yourself up through what is called merit, which is when we give something, when we do a good thing with money or an offering or something and dedicate it to them. Ajarn will often say he doesn't generally see these ghosts. He might get something in the corner of his eye. He sometimes gets a smell, yeah. But what he does get are whispers and feelings. Yeah, this isn't like a film. This is real life. And through that, he understands when they have accepted the work and can be guaranteed to do the work or give it a very good try. Yeah. So then you look at someone like Ajarn Apichai, who is famous for creating a spirit or working with one spirit. And the way he does it is actually quite similar. Because when creating a spirit, he constructs the body with his psyche, using the 32 parts of the body and the elements. And I try and explain what we know of that in what will be my last book, but it's not enough because we're not lucids, we're not apprentices. We only get the story. And basically, he will continue working until he gets a complete picture of the spirit come to his mind, and then he knows it's in. Now, both of these systems take decades to perfect. We all believe that Ajarn Apichai is a returned magician. So he started studying magic at 9.
Yeah.
Ajarn Suea was the lucid, the apprentice of a very famous old magician called Khoo, and he studied magic with him from beginning to end. He holds his full vidya, his full knowledge. The full knowledge of that master is held by Ajarn Suea. So when we say working with ghosts, this is not just about inviting one in. It's not just about being able to see them and converse like a normal person. Yeah, the Thais don't believe that. They don't see ghosts in that way. It's about an understanding between the living and the dead.
Mm. It's a continuum, like as you said. If I die before my time, and then I bide my time there in the afterlife, in a certain region
Realm.
of the afterlife, and so then I can continue to help people I love, or maybe I don't even know, but I get what we could call good karma in the West.
Yeah, you get merit. We
You
call
merit.
it merit.
It's
Like
yeah,
when,
and
like
then
sometimes when they have a ghost in the house of somebody's house, the Thais will just say, "Bring me some good fortune, and you can stay, and I'll praise you and give you merit."
so, yeah, that's
They're very direct about it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, because it's so natural. So uh, there's no not much distinction between the living and the dead. We're just helping each other.
it's life,
Yeah.
it's existence, and it's
Mhm.
all the realms of existence. And in some forms of time magic, the ghost can be forced, but generally, the Ajarns of this region are very against that because it means you can perhaps have problems later. The rawer it gets, the more raw it gets, the more they may have forced the ghost. This is like bargaining.
Mhm.
This is coming to an agreement with a ghost. Ajarn Sir always lives up to his promises of bringing an offering, bringing blood. They love blood, bloody meat, things like that, and then giving merit. And this is just the system that they operate with, and they can make it work.
Mhm.
It's to watch it, to have the privilege of watching this, because this is like probably like stepping back 50 years or 100 years. And it's really not accessible to people. But because I kind of proved myself in as to what we could do and how we can show their world to the world, they trust me,
Mhm.
and we get along very well. And I can go at any time and photograph things, and and just ask questions, and they will tell me within the parameters of what we agreed, and that is as the story, not how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's two layers. Let's carry on from that.
Mhm.
Okay, there's two layers of magic that people don't understand in Thailand generally. There are two ways to access the magic. One is to create it yourself. Now, that, like an Ajarn, like a lay magician, that, to be frank with you, is impossible. Yeah, we can't speak Thai. We don't know the depth of the culture. The whole language is based around magic. Every word or saying has got another meaning that might go back thousands of years. It's just so difficult. And then you have to be a monk for a while. You've got to have the right level of focus, be able to read and write Thai and other local languages. Thai is not the only language here. Lanar is a language. Thai Yai is a language. Khmer is a language. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can see the depth of the difficulty.
Yeah.
So anybody who says they are creating Thai magic, they cannot. I already see people saying they can do it. Nobody has been trained properly. And there's only one guy I think has been trained correctly as a Westerner as for Sak Yant, the Thai magical tattoos, and that's a Ajarn mat in Australia.
Mhm.
And I knew he was a good Ajarn after talking to him for 2 minutes, just from the way he responds. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's the impossible. Yeah, these are the guys who take on the burden to create the magic. We can train ourselves to use it, which is actually not easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And forces us to grow in a similar way to the magician, but as a magician, but in a different place. So we have to learn how to say the kata. We have to learn how to build focus within us. We have to learn about balancing the body and how to access and work with these things. And that in itself, eventually, we have the chance of working within different systems and different lineages to get the best from it for our lives. And that is just a process.
Hmm.
And the longer we do it, the better we become at it.
Yeah. It's not like I can buy an amulet from you and just carry it and everything will be fine. That's not how it works.
Well, you have amulets that are easy,
Mm.
and then you have amulets that are need an involvement, and they need praising and sustaining. And that sustaining is partly for them and partly for us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because by sustaining it, we build ourselves. So all the people wanting to learn a form of magic, I consider this to be a very easy way to enter it. Now, even if you have, say, an amulet that only needs the classic Buddhist chant of Namo Tassa, yeah, then we have to learn how to say it. I always welcome people sending a recording and go, so I can help correct it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn how to say it 108 times, which is not as easy as what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You've
Or
got the
anybody. There you go.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're the ones from Ajarn, aren't they? They are made of leklai,
The
like Nampi.
Leknampi, yeah. Or
It's
Leknampra. Leknampra, I think. Yeah.
it's a leklai. It's a form of leklai,
Yeah.
which is and that one's an iron ore. We can use the counting to break through the layers of focus within ourselves, and there's a definite way we can do it going up.
Mm-hmm.
Which we should discuss at some point if you're using the beads.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we could show some examples of the pieces one could get. So this is the first one I bought from you. This is a Takrut.
What was
Of
what
the
was that?
a fire tiger skin Takrut by
Ah,
Kruber Ponsit, I think.
oh, wonderful! No, that's an old amulet. That
Yeah,
Kuba Poinsett has unfortunately passed away now.
I thought so. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And tell us.
He's of a lineage. He's of a very very old lineage that
Mhm.
dates back thousands of years, we reckon. And tiger magic is vastly underrated, in my opinion. It can be substituted if we need fire element in our life for a start off. And if working with tiger magic, we have to learn quietness within, even though the magic itself can be extremely aggressive. So there's a fantastic balance between the two. And that's a rare amulet now.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like everything I got from you, it emanates power. It's everything is different, of course,
Yeah.
but it's visceral.
Yes.
I opened
And
the
so it
box and
should be.
I could feel it immediately.
Yeah.
And within the first maybe 2 months, it helped me avert 2 car accidents.
Yep.
Yeah. I,
Tiger magic's weird. When I go to any local, let's say a market or something, if I wear my tiger amulet, everybody's really friendly to me. And I think it's because I'm in a different place because I'm wearing the amulet.
Mhm.
Yeah, people have a completely different reaction to me. And these are things that we have to look at when wearing these things. The kata helps our focus, which helps us understand our effect on the world, and also helps us understand the effect of the amulet. Yeah, this is deep, deep studies over time.
Yeah.
How have you found wearing it other than saving from accidents?
It was I wear it daily, and I I was in my car. I was in my car driving, and it was like some presence or intuitive feeling told me just to look over there and just like step on the brakes and something like that. I
Something's
didn't know.
coming.
Yeah, something's coming.
Okay,
It's hard to put
this is
into
one of the
words. It's like,
effects.
and then a car rushed by me, and it would have hit me if I didn't step on the brakes.
Yeah.
So it was like this.
Intuition.
Yeah.
And intuition is one of the things that comes with kata
Mm.
as we lose the barriers between ourselves and everything else. Yeah.
Mm.
And that intuition can serve us very well
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
But we have to learn to trust it.
Totally.
You
Totally.
know.
Yeah. And I mean, there are so many other things. I mean, I love this one.
What's that?
It's not. That's a Ganesha.
Oh,
Here
that's a
it
metal
here it
one.
is.
There we are. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
See,
yeah. It's
that's just a very nice, blessed metal, which, I mean, even in most forms of Western magic, they have scripted metal, they have blessed metal. Yeah,
mhm.
no different. They have put Takrut, handwritten metal spells into that metal and then made the Ganesh and then given it the blessing.
Yeah, yeah,
So mixing metals in that way, the Thais are quite clever at it.
yeah, yeah. And maybe just another example. Um, there you
And
have.
the other side is a made burr, is it?
Yeah, yeah. That's
No, it's an inku.
it's an
Yes,
inku,
yes.
and there you have uh, sorts of metal and
Yeah, that's a made burr.
mhm,
The lady with her legs open is called made burr.
mhm,
She's like the primordial sex magic, one of the
mhm.
forms of primordial sex magic. That's also good for business because everybody likes buying things off somebody they find sexy.
Yeah. And you've got powders from I'm not sure, especially this one, but just to give an example, like graveyards or
Well, they normally
Sunday.
have human powders. They might have an oil from various sources, be it herbal or from people. Often, sometimes wax that's
Mhm.
been blessed or has got pry in it, human materials in it. There's a myriad ways of doing it, and the matrix itself will have a particular formation to it. It will have a structure to what's in there,
Mhm.
which will be very carefully controlled by the maker. This see all that stuff is astonishingly complicated, and we're still trying to get to the bottom of it.
Mm.
How they know what to put in. Yeah, they'll follow a recipe that's been given to them, but it's how they work with that recipe. How do they get in it? How do they create that body? Yeah? But there's something that they learn called, if they learn spells, they also learn something called untying the knot,
Mhm.
which is learning how to undo magic. Like if somebody's cursed you, they have to go in and undo you. Yeah. Undo it from the person.
Mhm.
Now, the same respect, they can actually go into an amulet and look at what's being done within that amulet. Yeah. I mean, you know,
Yeah, yeah. But it follows a certain logic, doesn't it? If you are able to put a spell on someone, you also have to be able to undo
Take
it.
it off.
Yes.
Yeah, when it's been put on by somebody else, even if you don't know the magic they used. I'll give you an example of this. In the past 6 months, we had a lady over from Europe who was cursed about 25 years ago. And we took her to see Ajarn again, because he's very good in the mornings at being quite psychic when he wakes up and he's still. And he said he thought it was a curse from South Thailand, and a very ancient one that used the tears of a sea cow. And he'd seen it once before and managed to cure them. But it often takes 2 or 3 attempts. First go will get rid of 90% and 30 will come back because people think about it too much. And it's been there a long time. And this lady's about to return for the second session. And he was explaining this, which is from Nora magic, which is one of the very old ancestral forms of magic in the South, which we interviewed about for the book that's coming out at the end of September. And then we find out from Ajarn that they can do curses, which we didn't know when we interviewed Ajarn Joe. So when we take his book, we next have to interview him about Nora curses, because they're really old and very strange formations. And Ajarn knows, he has some idea of how to get in there and take it off the person. Just from being sensitive enough. So all this is about different levels of sensitivity, really. If we put the practice in and build our focus and everything else, first of all, we can build the intuition and working with particular talismans. At a higher level, much higher level, is the work of the Ajarns to create those things in the first place. But it gives us some idea as to how good these guys are.
It's incredible. And you told me there are few tools in the Thai magic system. We've got the Mai Kru.
Yeah, that now. There's 2 forms of these, which we've found out recently.
Okay, of course.
Okay, so there's 2 forms of them. This one, the top's probably blessed and of specific metals, which may also include metals with spells written on it. But these can also be just the wood with a particular blessing and script in the wood. It doesn't need anything else to become a wand, because these are a form of wand.
Yes.
This, at the pointy end, is to direct and to give the blessing. The top end is to knock something away.
Okay? And it has the tiger-faced Lersi on it.
Well, he's often associated with knocking away darker magic and curses.
Yes.
That's his role, to knock away bad ghosts. Yeah. So within that metal, there will be Gan Pi, something to knock away ghosts and malicious entities. Okay.
Yeah.
The second version has the distinct ends have both got a spell. And again, one is to give, one is to knock away, but there's also added Takrut inside, and pry, human materials, and plants inside to give it a bit more potency. So they follow similar principles, but one only uses wood and one uses other materials. I think both can be just as strong, because I've had some old ones that are only supernatural woods that were phenomenally strong. Harry Potter strong, shall we say?
Yeah.
So it depends on the source of the wood, because woods can also die a death that makes them pry. And it depends on the tree and how it died. All wood that's hit by lightning is a pry wood, because lightning is the power of nature itself. But some woods, if they fall across a stream, can be used. Some woods can be used if they have a termite mound on them, but the termites have never entered the wood. And there's just hundreds of these examples, hundreds of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, it's complicated, but they fulfill a very similar role as a wand with two different ends: one to give magic, one to bless your wallet, say, to put money in it, yeah, and one to knock away. Now, the other tool is a
look at that.
knife, and I better put this side forward so you don't see my full name. And this is the scabbard, which I'll put down. Now, these knives, we have a guy who can make these to order, and the way they make them depends on the astrology of the person who orders the knife. And he's one of the few old-fashioned makers still going. He's probably in his late 50s, early 60s, and we're trying to keep him going. And he has a Luxit, an apprentice that will probably take over when he becomes infirm. Because making these is, in the traditional manner, is an art we don't want lost. Now, in the handle, you'll see the end has got, there's mercury in there and plants. And that provides extra power to the principle of the knife, which is primarily for protection. Now, if I was leaving this on my altar, I would leave it partially open, because the knife will force away any malicious entities. And actually, it's quite interesting. This is one of my favorite things to do the Kata for in the morning, because we talk about blowing and everybody thinks it's like but if this is just me. This is just an example of somebody who just follows the system, is not a creator of magic. But in the morning, you'll say the Kata. And then the knife can be used as a boundary. Now, I think this is the same for all magical knives. You can go around your house, you can do it around yourself. But this can also, in Thai system, is used to cut and bind magic. It's used for sealing magic, which is beyond what anything I can do. I just use it and enjoy the praising of the magic of this knife, because it's just such a wonderful feeling to it. Sometimes if I'm thinking too much, I will just and let the knife pull the thoughts away and calm the mind. So, I mean, I think with everybody with these things, we find a way that suits us. Yeah, things will come to mind, or you'll try something, and then you'll see somebody doing it in a different way and try that. And that's exactly the same as how the magic spread between the regions here. Yeah, so we have to go with what our intuition tells us to do, and then go through the process of understanding what this thing can actually does.
Yeah.
So in effect, we are teaching ourselves using either talismans or tools from a system, for most people, halfway around the world. Yeah, it's
beautiful. Thank you for giving this example. I think
it's about I think it's the best one to understand. I think it's the easiest one to understand as well. And at the end of the day, we all like knives.
And then there are, I mean, the knives, they are obviously very, very potent tools. But then there are several things for, how do you say it? It's like hiding magic in plain sight, like a Pung.
Yeah.
That's
another group of points, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that very well. I remember everything I sell, you know. This is daily magic.
Yes.
How do you feel when you put it on, Bernhard?
Maybe we can we should explain what it is. It's like a lip balm.
Well, it's a balm that's made. Oh, you've used a lot. Well done.
Yeah, over the years.
It's a balm that's made in two ways. One, either by boiling blessed wax with plants and herbs, or by using human materials with wax and plants as well. This one, I think, is not Prai. It's Putakun. Putakun. Is it Prai? Is it?
It is Prai. Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Even better. Prai is basically the baseball bat. Prai gets you there. Now, technically, before using that, I would have suggested you get an astrology reading, because we now know how to tell people whether they can use Prai. I would say 90% of the people who ask are going to be able to do it, because they wouldn't have the feeling of getting it without an unknown knowledge of themselves. Now, what can happen there, though, is that Ajarn, Apichai, will give advice on how they should work with it and what they should do to be able to work with it in a better manner, in a more effective way. And did you learn how to apply it?
Yeah.
So with the middle finger.
Yes, and then here
and then
yes.
I always do it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then top finger across the top lip, and thumb across the bottom lip to finish off anything that's left on the fingers and thumb.
Yeah.
How do people react to you differently when you wear it?
Yeah, I think they. I seem more likable to them. It makes
some of us need that more than others.
It makes interaction easier. It
does. It's bizarre, isn't it? See, that is daily magic. That's for me. That's for going to work, or I love wearing stuff like that if going for a walk in nature, because it opens us up more to the feeling of nature. I think it just opens the way for us and makes us accessible.
That's a great way to put it. Yes. Yeah.
And we need things like that. The Western culture in particular can be very closed. If you're in the country, it's much easier. Country people tend to talk to people more.
Yeah.
But otherwise, in cities, we can be terribly closed, and it's a waste, really. The Thais have a great understanding of the importance of magic like that, because they believe that one meeting can change your life.
Yes.
And being seen and felt in the best way possible can give them a good life. Now, we don't have, because we're not used to magic, we don't really have that within our culture, in many respects. And I try and encourage it as often as possible, to the point where nowadays I actually buy Pung by caseload to get a very good price and give it to people and just say, wear it, try it, make your life better.
Yeah.
But this has to be a Pung that has no pride, because I don't know who I am sending it to. Yeah. So, you know,
yeah.
better to be
That's it. It's
safe.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning, it's there to have a better life.
Yeah.
And it can improve things in these small, subtle ways that turn out or can turn out very big.
Yeah.
So.
It opens a door and opens different doors depending on what we do, what we wear, our relationship to it, and our relationship to the world. And all of those aspects will change over time through Kata and through practice and through belief. Yeah, because all magic is about practice and belief. All religions are about practice and belief. Yeah. And you know, it can, for me, it's kind of, I've always known magicians all my life. I've always known witches, and I never practiced anything. We were just friends, yeah, including some very famous magicians nowadays, who have most of them unfortunately passed. And it was only when I allowed myself to get an amulet the first time I bought one and wore it did I realize how much I was being held back by past experiences or by attachments or whatever else. And in my life just set off like a rocket. I'll never forget my first amulet because of that. It just freed me. It freed something within me. It was a Hoon Payon. Do you know Hoon Payon?
I know it. I just forgotten the meaning.
Okay, the Hoon Payon is one of the most ancient spells in this system. It is basically something like a weaponized land spirit that acts as a second skin to take any problems coming towards you instead of you.
Yes, yeah.
But it also can knock back the things that are holding us back. And it's one of the recommended first amulets, really, in my opinion. Because it can just free our natural magic. Everybody has natural magic. Everybody has a way to get through life. Everybody has good fortune. And it's only when things get in the way do that get interrupted. That can include spiritual attachments or astrology producing torturous or difficult events, yeah, which is what marks life, basically. Well, we can try and get through that. This is what magic is for, in my opinion. It is to ease the process of life and have a greater understanding about ourselves and have a greater understanding about our place in the world. Yeah. Now, those three aspects alone can improve anybody's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's about us. It's about everything around us. And I think we miss opportunities all the time because of being a bit closed or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And coming, I think that was the best summary we could give in this first overview of the Thai magic system.
It's because it was off the cuff.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
If I'd have thought about it, I couldn't have done it.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yeah. And now coming to the end, I already told our viewers that they can buy these amulets and these things and the books, of course, from you. But there are also many other possibilities. If you just go to Google and type Thai magic, you can buy tons of Takrut and stuff. And everybody says it's the original, the perfect. Why should they buy from you and not from other?
I buy for its strength. Yeah, I've had thousands of amulets through my hands, all of which make a connection with you and leave something within you. Yeah. And I tend to buy for either its originality, its potency, or its function. Yeah. So I would recommend nobody rushing into this. Yeah. What I would recommend is to go to the ThaiOccult.com and read it. Yeah. Just have a look at what magic can be available to life. Then wait again. Spend $10 on the Thai Occult first book, which as a PDF, and then read about that and take your time. Now, periodically, I send out, every month I'll send out like 4 round robin emails. My site allows me to do that. So periodically, I will give advice about, we're entering a difficult period of astrology for the next 4 or 5 years, 6 years. And today I sent out an email saying that, telling people about Jupiter going retrograde and how important Jupiter is in astrology. Yeah. And actually, how there is very little magic that can combat Jupiter's lack of effect. Yeah? Jupiter kind of, it's the beneficial planet, it's knowledge, it's money, it's working through life, it's an ease of life, it smooths out the path. So when it goes retrograde, things can get a bit messy. The only form of magic, and I'm about to case this for myself, that we can wear at that time is a Buddhist amulet. It's the only thing that can help us through a period of Jupiter retrograde, and more problems with Jupiter are coming down the line. Yeah. So just go on and send a message, and you'll be included in emails like that, because very simple actions through a year can make a tremendous difference. After Jupiter going retrograde, we have Rahu coming into the astrology over America in mid to late October. I forget the exact date. I wasn't listening. And Rahu is chaos. It's sudden chaos, often associated with economics, but not necessarily only economics. So we have the combination of Jupiter coming and kind of the good fortune dropping, and Rahu coming and chaos going up. So we're expecting, like 3 years ago, Ajarn Apichai said that the world economy is going to slowly step down. And I'm sure everybody accepts that prediction now. Yeah, we can see it.
Yes. Yes.
We expect another step down October, November. Yeah. And the only way to combat Rahu is by praising Rahu, but that's not necessarily for beginners. You can do it, and it's incredibly rewarding, but you have to be aware that none of us are rich. So you have to choose what to do according to what you have, and what's going to have the most effect according to what's about to affect us. So I think there's a balance here about working towards getting through the next 4 or 5 years, because the astrology becomes terrible. Yeah? After April 24, oddly, the Jupiter is in one of the most beneficial positions it could possibly be. So whatever happens over the next 6 to 8 months, there's going to be some sort of rescue going on, and we're going to have another year that are going to be all right. During that year, we make preparations for what's coming after that, which could get a little bit messy. Yeah? And we have to do 2 things or 3 things, in my opinion. 1, not panic and stop being stressed about it. That comes anyway when you praise with Kata and use and raise your focus and your intuition at the same time. Our intuition and our focus will save us. Yeah? you can do very simple things like start growing vegetables in your garden. Yeah, learn how to be a little self-sufficient. Stick a little bit of gold away, just in case. Yeah, because gold always has a value, and that might save your life at some point as well. And that's it. That's all you need to do. But don't panic. Yeah, that's the worst thing we can do about these things. And we do not know what is coming. This is only the guide as to what is coming. It's only the possibility if people take the bait of the astrology. Yeah, so like the worrying bit over the next 6 months, besides Rahu and Jupiter buggering off, is actually Mars coming in at the diametric opposite around the world to Rahu. And Rahu stays a very long time. He's staying for 18 months, which is extremely unusual. He's incredibly slow moving. And I was sat in a discussion between Ajarn Apichai and his teachers about what this could possibly be. And it might just add a bit of aggression to the levels of change that we need to do and embrace. Yeah. It might be a wars starting, or it might be another pandemic. That was the 3 thoughts on the matter. Now, at this moment in time, because Rahu forces change on people, it is my heartfelt advice to everybody out there to change yourself, or he's going to force you to change, and being forced to change is not as easy as changing yourself. This can be as simple as changing your bedroom around, changing your daily routine, starting something new, starting to walk in nature, things like that. Change the way you work. Try to change the way you think and the way you react to things. The more change we can instill in ourselves, the less Rahu will change everything for us. There'll still be changes coming, but if we get used to the process of change first, it will be extremely beneficial.
So there you have it, people.
It's just ideas. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to change, but I've actually decided to be a little bit lazy this next 6 or 8 months, to be honest. I've actually decided to take a leaf out of Ajarn Apichai's book and my partner Bond's book and just take things much slower. And kind of just get into my own practice and, change the simplicity of life. And these things are beneficial to us. This is not bad stuff. Yeah? And in that way, we can cope.
So you answered my question perfectly, because that's why what's the difference between other sellers and you? You not only go this deep into the system, but you also provide continuing advice, how to work with it, how to apply it to daily life. I wish
it's what we have to do, and like 108 Kata, like the beads you showed me earlier. And nowadays, I send out a 108 Kata to people, which is actually so simple that it is so difficult. But at a basic level, we can say 108 of them. And that starts the process. We start to realize how our emotions are changing and things like that, and how our focus changes and become aware of that change. In fact, instead of being a bit blinkered in life, and also I always knew this. I've known this will happen for the last 3 years. And I've been working towards basically only working with 3, 4, or 5 Ajarns that I like. And sometimes asking them to combine magic that they've never combined before, or asking for a magic that they've never done, not done for years, or they know where to get the source of that magic from. So it just brings in a different way of doing these things and supports the magicians that I'm close to get through the coming years as well. It's just being part of it. And we have to find also what to be part of where we are. Your local community, people into magic around you where you are, people you go walking with, these things are phenomenally important. And especially where you are, Bernhard, incredibly beautiful country that needs to be enjoyed.
Yes,
And
yes, totally.
there's millions of ways to do this.
Yeah, and it's what we told our viewers several years ago, like meet each other, get together, tell your stories, and it's the same.
Have a cup of tea with them, or coffee, or beer, or whatever. Yeah, It's because I firmly believe that magic can save us. I believe the practice of magic can save us on an individual level. Yeah, and the more magic can be walking down the street if you've learned how to walk in a Buddhist manner. It can be a form of vipassana meditation, which everybody automatically does when they walk in nature. They stop thinking. Yeah, that is the happy state. And that is what we need more of in our lives. Yeah, there's a million ways to acquire this focus.
Yeah.
And in that way, we can grow.
Yeah. Stop saving the world, but save it by enjoying it.
Yeah.
And each other.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed our conversation very much, Peter. Thank you
It's
so
been a pleasure to have a chat, Bernhard.
Thank you for giving us this. As I said, it was just a glimpse into this great and diverse and powerful system. And as you said, the ThaiOccult.com is your website. I link it in the show notes so that people can find you and your work there, your books and all this.
And a lot of people go to that site even when they're doing other forms of magic.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
It's like a little encyclopedia of what is possible.
Yes.
And the inspiration people can get from that is very important at the same time. Yeah, I'll always make money. I'll always have enough to live, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. What matters is what we do with the knowledge that we can read there.
Perfect. Peter, have a nice day. Have a great autumn when you lay back a bit. And I'm looking forward to your next book.
And we'll have another chat next year, shall we?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Have a great time. The world is
See
mine.
ya.
See you. Bye-bye.